I've always been into urban exploration. Abandoned hospitals, factories, sewer tunnels, you name it, I've walked through it. But there's one place I will never go back to. It's a drainage tunnel system underneath an old coal town in Pennsylvania. Everyone in the Urbex community called it the Serpent's Lung. The nickname came from the way the air would suck in and out slowly, like something beneath the ground was breathing. We thought it was just a pressure thing caused by wind currents. We were wrong. It was late September 2021. Me and my friend Mikey entered through a maintenance hatch behind an old condemned warehouse. The second we descended, it felt wrong. The air was humid, thick like soup, but not hot. The light from our headlamps barely reached 10 feet ahead, even though we had strong beams. As we walked deeper, Mikey started getting uneasy. He kept saying he heard clicks behind us. I told him it was just echo distortion from our boots on the metal grates. He didn't believe me, but we pressed on. We reached a deep tunnel where the air shifted, like the whole thing was inhaling. It was subtle but rhythmic. You could feel it against your chest. We stopped walking. Then we saw something that made my stomach knot. Small handprints. Not graffiti, not paint. Real handprints in the dust. They looked wet, as if whoever left them had recently been crawling. Then our lights flickered. Mikey's beam cut out completely, and mine dimmed to a red-tinted flicker. In the low light, something moved, fast. A slither or crawl, but with a soft thud at every motion, like knees hitting steel. I froze. Mikey grabbed my shoulder and whispered, "It's behind us." We ran. The tunnel didn't want us to leave. That's the only way I can describe it. The air turned against us, pulling in so hard it felt like running into a vacuum. We made it out, but as we climbed out the hatch, I looked back and saw something in the darkness, low to the ground, skin pale and stretched tight, eyes reflecting red from my dying lamp. It wasn't human anymore, but it once was. If you think urban exploration is just abandoned buildings and thrill-seeking, think again. Sometimes you're not exploring forgotten places. You're trespassing into something alive, like if you felt the chill. And subscribe before your next adventure leads you too far in. There's a university in Ohio with a long abandoned science building on the edge of campus. Everyone whispers about it. Stories of experiments, sealed off wings, and creepy basement levels. I was working on a short documentary with 2 classmates, and we decided to investigate after dark. What we found was not meant to be seen again. We entered through a broken window behind the greenhouse section. The interior had rotted beautifully. Peeling paint, moss on the floors, the smell of mildew in every room. But the strange thing was, the building still had power. Some of the old hallway lights flickered dimly. We descended 2 flights of stairs into what had once been the anatomy wing. That's when we found the door marked Sub-Level M. It was locked, until it wasn't. The lock clicked open on its own. We thought maybe it was a mechanical glitch, but as we stepped in, we knew this wasn't just a lab. It was a morgue. Rusted gurneys, body drawers with scorched metal doors, a table with deep grooves like something had clawed its way off. The air was frigid and dry. My friend Ellie pointed out that none of us had seen any animals. No rats, no insects, just silence. Then we saw the photos, hundreds of them, pinned to the walls. Black and white, faces with expressions of pain, mouths open like screaming, but no eyes, all scratched out. Then came the buzzing. At first it sounded like flies, but it got louder, more distorted. We turned and saw the lights flicker in a pulse, on and off like a strobe. And in the brief flashes, a figure standing at the end of the hall. It didn't move normally. Its neck tilted backward, jaw slack, limbs jerking in and out of focus. We didn't breathe. We didn't scream. We just ran. As we reached the first floor, every single hallway light exploded in succession. Pop, 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 chasing us. When we burst out of the window, my friend Josh looked back and swears he saw the figure wave. That building has been sealed now, cement poured in the stairwells, but I still dream about that hallway, that buzzing, and sometimes I wake up with tiny scratch marks on my arms, like fingers. Still think it's just decayed walls and graffiti? Some places hide what history once erased. Like this video if you've ever felt watched while exploring, and subscribe before the place you enter decides to keep you. I was traveling solo through Detroit for an Urbex photo series. There's an old car parts factory on the east side that's completely off-grid. No city access, no surrounding businesses. Just concrete, rust, and dead quiet. I hiked in through a path of overgrown thorns, climbed a collapsed loading dock, and made my way in around 5 p.m. The light filtered through broken windows like stained glass. Beautiful, still, perfect. The upper levels were empty except for a few smashed desks and dead pigeons. But then I found a metal staircase leading down. No signage, just a thick steel door with no handle. It was slightly open. Inside was a basement floor, but there was no floor, just a wide, dark pit. A square chasm going who knows how far down, with pipes and chains hanging from the ceiling above it. I tossed a small bolt down and never heard it land. That's when I noticed the air. It was rising, not musty or foul, warm, like body heat. I turned to leave, but the door slammed shut behind me. My flashlight flickered, and in its dying glow, I saw movement across the pit, something crawling just along the edge. Thin, pale, it looked like it was wearing a mask, but then I realized that was its face, blank, eyeless, its head turned toward me, and though it never moved fast, it began edging around the pit, creeping closer. The only way out was a broken chain hanging from a ceiling pipe near the far end. I jumped, barely grabbing it, swung over the pit, and smashed through a grate that led to an old vent system. I crawled through rusted metal for what felt like forever until I kicked open a panel and fell onto the factory floor again. When I stood up and looked around, everything was wrong. It wasn't sunset anymore. It was pitch black outside. I'd only been down there 15 minutes, but somehow I lost 4 hours. The photos on my camera were corrupted, except for one, a blurry shot of the pit with something looking up. Don't stop now. The darkness thrives in silence. Let the next terror begin.